There is a certain level of discipline that makes people look at you with fear. And today, you're about to learn exactly how to reach that point. Have you ever noticed that one person who never seems to fail? The one who rises at the same hour daily, follows the same routine, and simply never stops. While others quit by the third week, they just keep moving forward. While others find excuses, they simply appear. And you know what people say about them? Man, that's not normal. There is an ancient system developed by Zen monks in Japan that cultivates exactly this kind of intimidating consistency. They call it Goji, the practice that sustains itself. And once you grasp how it works, you'll never abandon a goal again. But there is a price. This system isn't for everyone. It demands that you eliminate a part of yourself you never realized existed. But before I reveal how it functions, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button below, and comment on the habit you most wish to build in your life. That supports me greatly and signals that you're truly committed to change. Let's begin. The awakening. The story I'm about to share involves a programmer named Raphael. He was intelligent, had a successful career, but he faced one issue. He couldn't maintain any habit for more than 2 weeks. The gym, he'd quit after 2 months. Meditation, 1 week and that was it. Reading, he'd purchase a book, read 3 pages, and then leave it forgotten in a drawer. The cycle was always identical. Monday, full motivation. Wednesday, the first mental bargaining. Friday, complete surrender. Sunday, promises for the week ahead. Raphael tried everything: habit tracking apps, rewards, accountability partners. Nothing worked because he was battling something he couldn't even perceive, the fundamental structure of his own brain. Until one day, he uncovered why Zen monks can meditate for 800 consecutive years without missing a single session. And no, it's not willpower. It's something far more profound and unsettling. The monk's secret. In Zen temples, there exists a rule that appears simple but changes everything. Guji, translated literally, it means continuous practice without gaps. Without gaps. Do you grasp the significance? It means that since 1200 AD, every single day at 3:30 am a bell rings at IIG temple, and since 1200 AD, every single day the monks rise. Not at 3:25 am, not at 3:35 am, but exactly at 3:30 am. Do you want to know what never happens in that temple? No monk lies in bed pondering, "Today, I'll get up." That question simply doesn't exist in their minds. Why? Because they understand something you haven't yet realized. Your brain sorts every commitment into 2 categories: reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments turn into mental negotiations. Irreversible commitments simply occur. When a monk takes his vows before the entire community, he isn't making a mere promise. He is transforming his identity. He isn't vowing to try to meditate. He is declaring himself a meditator. The community bears witness. The identity shifts. The negotiation ceases. A Harvard neuroscientist who has studied habits for 15 years made a revolutionary discovery. When you make a behavior public, your primitive brain interprets failure as a survival threat. Our ancestors who lost status in the tribe perished. Your brain still operates that way. And that is precisely what Raphael did. He stopped making private promises and began making public declarations. He wrote on paper, "I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every day at 500 AM for 90 consecutive days." He signed it. He shared it on social media. He told everyone. His girlfriend remarked, "You're being overly dramatic." His co-workers said, "Man, you're trying too hard." Perfect. Every person he knew became fuel. Every morning he felt like giving up. He thought about facing everyone and admitting he was just another person who couldn't keep his word. On day 3, the first real test arrived. The alarm rang at 500 AM. Immediately his mind began its usual routine. "You're exhausted. This isn't healthy. One day won't make a difference." But something fundamental had shifted. The thought of posting online that he'd failed after just 3 days was unbearable. having to look his girlfriend in the eye and admit he'd quit again. The public declaration had made quitting more painful than continuing. Yet here, the real challenge began, the internal war. Even with all that social pressure, Raphael was still fighting every single day. His body didn't care about his reputation. It wanted to sleep when tired. The public declaration ended the mental negotiation, but he still battled biology every morning. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle, non-negotiable hours. Every day, you waste mental energy on the same foolish question. When will I do this? Now or after breakfast? Morning or night? This decision burns glucose in your brain that should be used for actual practice. You're wasting your fuel deciding when to drive instead of actually driving. Raphael chose 500 a.m., not because he was a morning person who loved watching the sunrise. He chose 500 a.m. because the world was asleep. No messages, no emails, no distractions, no excuses. The time wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination. Removing every possible reason to postpone it. The first week was brutal. His body fought against it every morning. That's normal. Your body is a machine that operates on patterns, and you're forcing it to build a new one. It resists. In the second week, something shifted. He started waking up 2 minutes before the alarm. His body had begun preparing for what awaited him. On the 14th day, the alarm rang, and his feet touched the floor before his conscious mind even engaged. No thought, no decision, just movement. Here's what most people miss about fixed hours. It's not about finding the perfect schedule. It's about removing time as a variable. When you do something at different times daily, you're asking your brain to make a new decision each time. When the schedule is fixed, your brain can't argue with a constant. But Raphael discovered a new problem. His schedule was fixed, yet he kept changing what he did during that time. Some mornings meditation felt right. Other days he read, sometimes he did push-ups. His brain had found a new point for negotiation. Instead of arguing about when, it began arguing about what. 20 minutes at 500 a.m. became reliable, but the practice itself was chaotic. The fixed schedule had solved half the equation, but his mind was still finding loopholes to negotiate. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. And this is where Dogen's teaching on forms becomes controversial, because it requires you to do exactly the same thing every single day until your mind completely surrenders. The one way. You might think variety keeps things interesting, but variety is actually where consistency dies. Every time you change what you're doing, your brain has to make micro decisions. Should I do push-ups or burpees today? Which book should I read? How long should I meditate? Every small decision is a crack where your old patterns seep back in. Raphael locked everything down completely. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading. Same order, same timer, same thing. His personal Ango period. 90 days of identical practice. His friends called him robotic. His girlfriend said he was getting annoying. They didn't understand that annoying was exactly the point. By the third week, his mind went to war. Every morning, it screamed for variety. This is stupid. You're not a robot. Mix things up or you'll burn out. By the fourth week, something broke. Not his discipline, but his resistance. The voice of negotiation grew quieter. By week 6, he was halfway through his push-ups before he even realized he'd started. The practice was taking care of itself. This is what people don't understand about consistency. It's not about willpower lasting forever. It's about repetition until willpower is no longer needed. Your body learns the sequence like a dancer learns choreography. An MIT researcher who has studied behavioral automatization for 12 years explains, when you repeat an action in the same context for approximately 66 days, the basal ganglia take over. The behavior becomes automatic. You are no longer deciding to do it, you are simply doing it. On day 35, Raphael caught the flu. On day 40, he was traveling for work. This is where the old pattern kicks in: sick day, rest day, travel exception. This is where you gave up before, where everyone gives up, because perfect practice requires perfect conditions, and perfect conditions do not exist. But Dogen understood something about gaps that changes everything. He wrote that practice must continue without even a moment of gap, because in that gap, all your old patterns return. What saved Raphael when everything went wrong was understanding that practice doesn't require perfection. It requires continuity, practice without gap. The all or nothing lie has killed more consistency than laziness ever could. You tell yourself, if I can't do the full 20 minutes, why do anything? If I can't do perfect push-ups, I'll wait until tomorrow. This thinking creates gaps, and gaps are where your old self crawls back in. Look at any elite athlete and you'll see something people misinterpret. They have rest days, but those rest days are still progress. Intentional, strategic, planned. Never because they feel lazy, never because they don't want to train. A rest day allows them to train harder tomorrow. This is still movement toward the goal. But when you skip because you're tired, that's not rest, it's retreat. A river never stops flowing. During a drought, it may become a trickle, but it never stops. The moment it stops, it's no longer a river, it's a memory of where the water used to be. Your practice is the same. The moment you create a gap, you're no longer practicing. You're someone who used to practice. Travel day arrived on day 40. Airport at 4:00 a.m., meetings all day. No gym at the hotel. Raphael did push-ups in the airport bathroom. People looked at him like he'd lost his mind. Great. He meditated in the Uber. He read on the plane. Nothing was perfect. Everything maintained momentum toward the goal he declared 90 days ago. This is Guji, practice continuing itself. That's when people started to notice. Co-workers said he seemed different. Friends said he was becoming obsessive. Someone actually said his discipline wasn't healthy. That normal people don't act like that. When you hear these words, you know you're on the right track. Normal people get normal results. You're not trying to be normal. You're trying to be unbreakable. But here's what no one prepares you for: the unexpected obstacles you never saw coming. The things you can't plan for because you don't know they exist. Pre-solutions. Your child gets sick. Your car breaks down on the way to the gym. Your boss keeps you late. These are consistency killers because you haven't decided how to handle them. Every time an unexpected obstacle appears, you have to make a decision under stress. That decision in that moment of chaos is where you'll choose the path of least resistance every time. The obstacle wins because you're fighting a battle you didn't prepare for. Zen monasteries have operated for centuries without missing a single day of practice. Earthquakes, wars, famines. The practice continues. How? They don't make decisions when obstacles arise. The answer already exists. When the meditation hall floods, they go to the dining hall. When the dining hall catches fire, they sit in the courtyard. There is no meeting, no discussion, no negotiation. The bell rings, the response is automatic. Raphael wrote down every obstacle that had ever broken his consistency and solved each one. Plan for rain, push-ups in the garage. Guests staying home silent, workout in the bathroom. Hangovers does which shouldn't happen, but if it does, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Each scenario had its predetermined response. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking. No negotiating, just execution. The power of this isn't just maintaining the sequence. It's that you stop wasting mental energy on decisions. Your brain knows that no matter what happens tomorrow, the practice continues. This certainty changes your entire nervous system. A Yale University behavioral psychologist who has studied decision making for 20 years found that when you decide your actions, you remove decision fatigue from the critical moment. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for willpower, remains intact to execute rather than decide. Day 70 of Raphael's practice had become completely automatic. He would sometimes wake up not even remembering doing the push-ups. His body simply moved through the sequence like a programmed machine. His girlfriend's mother visited for a week. He did push-ups in the bathroom at 500 a.m. The practice continued because the answers were already written. On the 90th day, he completed his personal Ango. 3 months of uninterrupted practice. But something deeper had happened. He was no longer the same person. Friends literally told him, "Your consistency is scary." His response was perfect, great. The transformation. Because when your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you're finally operating at the right level. Your existence proves that everything they say is impossible is actually just uncomfortable. That's why they'll call you obsessive. That's why they'll say you need balance. They need you to slow down so they can feel better about standing still. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you've discovered the secret. Consistency isn't about doing something every day. It's about becoming someone who can't do it any other way. When you implement the Guji system, public declaration, fixed schedule, a seamless practice method, and pre-resolved answers, you're not just creating habits, you're reshaping your identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who simply is. And when that happens, when that transformation is complete, people will look at you and think, how does he do that? And the answer will be simple, he doesn't. He is. The question remains, are you ready for this level of transformation? Because it's not about discipline, it's about death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent self, the birth of your unbreakable self. The Guji system won't make you a better person. It'll make you a different person. Someone others will look at and think, that's not normal. And when you hear those words, you'll know you finally arrived where you want to be. If this video shifted your perspective on discipline and consistency, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss future content that will transform you. And tell me in the comments, what will your public declaration be? What habit will you implement using the Guji system? Remember, the consistency that scares others is the only consistency worth having. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for your attention. See you in the next video.